So what else is coming down the track? I don't know whether people have heard about this one. Anybody heard of the trusted partner status? I think this is really, really interesting development. Only announced last week and is going to be introduced from the beginning of 2018 by the ESFA. So the information is a little bit sketchy, but just to tell you what is happening. In essence, this is coming at us from two angles. We've got one, which is employers saying, we're paying the levy, but we've now got to administrate it, and it's costing us a fortune to administrate it, and actually we've got a day job to do. And actually, you, ESFA, need to sort that out. At the same time, we've got organisations like ourselves, hopefully not too often, who are actually saying to the ESFA, well, we're delivering all this stuff, or we're trying to deliver all this stuff, but it's really difficult to get employers to sign off the DAS. And actually, as a consequence, if you don't sign the DAS off, we don't get paid. And you probably will know there's lots of training providers in this market going bust by the day. And those two things coming together, those two pressure points coming together, has really resulted in the development of this, which is actually will be the announcement and the process of trusted partner status for providers, where in element, if you're a trusted partner, you can work much more closely with an employer and take off the employer that administrative burden and that administrative responsibility of administering the DAS and all of those sorts of things, together with all the other associated aspects of running it. More information to come, but I think that's going to be an interesting one. And some of the clients we're working with, so if you take Mighty PLC, for example, 5.5 million of levy, we run the whole of their levy. We run the DAS, we run the whole thing. The subcontracting, we don't deliver everything, we run absolutely all of their activity. We have a dedicated team of now 15 people working on that account. So trusted partner status will be quite an interesting development. More clarity on 20% of the job, and I'll come on to that in 2 minutes. Results of the first audits, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Refresh of the ROTAT register. As you know, the ROTAT register has been out for new applications. I think that closes actually tomorrow, I think it is. But what they're doing, what the SFA are doing at the moment, is when the ROTAT was established back in March, about 600 new providers came on stream. Only 120 of those providers since March have actually delivered anything, and they're monitoring all of that activity. And every one of those 600 providers are now undergoing an audit by either PwC, KPMG or Ernst & Young, commissioned by the ESFA. Don't know how much it's cost. And that's happening at the moment. And that is a physical audit at their physical centres in order to audit whether they've got the systems and processes in place. And certainly our discussions with the ESFA is they expect about 400 of those 600 to be removed off the register instantly, because actually they put a good bid in, but there's actually no substance behind what they're doing. And that's going to be quite an interesting development, I think. Refocus on Ofsted, both in terms of levy, but also importantly subcontracting. For those of subcontractors historically have never been subject to Ofsted, but there was a lot of activity last week and indeed this week with the new skills minister in the House, where actually there's going to be quite a significant focus on Ofsted. And the audit of providers and impact on employers. Really importantly, I think this one is that within the contract that you as employers sign with the ESFA, and you probably signed it and didn't really read it very carefully, it actually says in the event of an audit, not only do we as a provider not get paid, but you actually lose your levy as well. So actually, if you're not compliant with 20% off the job, and as an employee you say, well, that's actually the provider's responsibility, it actually isn't. It's your responsibility as an employer, and that's really an important point. And I'll give you some horror stories that are already coming down the track in that particular area.